Hello everyone. In this video we are going to be tackling the abdominal section. There are only 4 muscles in the abdominal area that you guys are going to need to find, which are the external, internal oblique, transverse abdominis, and then the rectus abdominis. I will tell you that the external oblique is sometimes hard to see because people will cut it off when they are skinning their cat because of how thin it is. So if you can't see a complete external oblique, it is okay. You will be able to see a full internal as well as transverse. And then the rectus abdominis is the one that goes up the midline, which creates that six-pack abdominal muscle that you'll be able to see. So we're looking at one of the lateral sides here. You can see this is the midline ventral belly of the cat. So I'm going to kind of turn it to the side here. You'll notice this right here. That is a rip of where the students have cut off the external oblique. So this little section here that you can kind of pull back and forth as a little flap, that's actually going to be the external oblique on this cat. So I'm just going to kind of lift that up, and you can see when you pull up on it all those nice white strings in between the layers. So you actually probably don't even really need a scalpel, although you can use one if you want, just very lightly. Now these abdominal muscles are extremely thin. If you are not ready to see internal organs, do not cut very deep. If you want to see internal organs, it's very easy to do so at this moment. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go kind of down more toward the pelvic area, and you should be able to see a little better at the pelvic area. There's this line right here. That is the end of the internal oblique. So I'm just going to kind of pull up on it and make a very, very tiny incision, following that back towards the butt a little bit, and then a little bit towards the midline of the belly. Again, it is not going to be very thick at all. Try and pull this up so you can see how thin that is. Try and stick my finger in there to separate the 2 layers. You'll be able to get your fingers in there pretty deep to separate the 2 layers. And I'm just going to follow the muscle around to the ventral belly side, just to lift that up a little bit. Now at this point you should be able to see the muscle underneath that. I'm going to try and move the camera angle around here so it's a little easier for you to see. All right, so now that we have this cut around the muscle underneath it, if you look, you can see that the muscle fibers are actually going this direction, or going across the body. That's the easiest way to tell that you have the transversus abdominis, transverse going transversely across the body. So then the next layer next to that would be your internal oblique, and then the outermost layer outside of that would be the external oblique. So for me, it's always easiest to go from the inside deep to superficial, because you can really see the direction of those transverse abdominis fibers. So the deepest would be the transverse abdominis, and if you cut beyond here, so see that little incision there, you're going to see internal organs if you cut beyond this. Then you have the internal oblique and the external oblique, which is often cut on the very superficial. Now the rectus abdominis is going to run up and down the midline of the cat. Just like in the human, it has a very thick connective tissue over it called the linea alba. So it will be somewhat difficult to see the actual muscle striations themselves, but it is the muscle that runs up and down the midline here. Sometimes you'll be able to see part of it on the outer edges between the transverse abdominis. Then you'll see some of that connective tissue there. And then you'll see the rectus abdominis, again, going straight up the midline of the cat's belly.